and
You know,
being here. What's up?
I was thinking about something.
What are we thinking about, bro?
I was thinking about what's going on in the earth, right?
What's happening in our minds?
Yeah, and I wondered, why does it matter?
We're about to find out.
Holy shit. Ready.
Just kidding.
Welcome to Earth, Mind, and Matter. We said, fuck it, let's talk about albums. We said, let's talk about some movies and some fucking comics. This week in the universe, across the internet.
So what's up, Javi?
What's going on, Frankie? And
What's up? What's up? How's everybody doing? We're back. We're back. And no, I'm just kidding. We are back. Earth, Mind, and Matter once again.
today is March 9th.
It is 2022. Already the third month into the year, just going forward. Today's an exciting day.
It's a very exciting day.
And
why are you excited, Frankie?
yeah, bro. Honestly speaking, I just love hearing my voice. So, no, I'm kidding. It's a very special occasion because today we're gonna talk about what's happening in the Earth
And what's going on in our minds?
and why it matters.
This is Earth, Mind, and Matter.
I'm Frankie, this is Javi, but we're more special than that. We have a very, very special opportunity today. And how about you tell the people about the opportunity we have today?
So we were able to get ourselves into a comic book shop.
Yes, sir.
We are filming the whole episode this time, not just the AMC, so you guys will be able to see it for yourselves. We are at Everyone Comics and Books, and
Right here in right next to in New York City, off the
Yes.
Queensboro train station, off the 7 train. Again, it's Everyone Comics and Books, right?
yes,
And yeah, Dimitrius, the owner of the spot, gave us the privilege to, film here and everything. And I don't know if you could tell, but I'm a little nervous just because it's such a cool opportunity, such a different pace for our environment, change of our environment. And I'm looking at Javi right now, and you'll see in the video section because we're gonna film this, but there's comic books all behind his face. So this is fucking awesome. I just kind of can't believe it. So I'm really cool, man. Really cool.
it's a pretty surreal moment.
Yeah,
So
man.
I think someone just got excited about a comic book shop opening up.
Nice. And that's the beauty of comic books. That and to start off with everything, we do this podcast talking about the news, albums and movies. That's the most I could kind of get in with that. But again, Javi, you love comic books so much, man.
I do.
Right? So this is the only reason we're here is because you like comic books, really.
It's almost surreal to be here. It's like I never thought I would be filming in a comic book shop.
Yeah, man. And fuck it. So we're here now, and let's get things started. Let's get this started, and yeah, man. So what's up? What you got for me today, Javi?
So I got a few things I want to bring up.
Mhm.
So couldn't find too many juicy things, so I said, "Fuck it, let's talk about Russia and Ukraine." Again.
All right.
There's some things that have happened that I think are important to bring up.
Mhm.
On top of that, we're gonna talk about the Batman.
The Batman.
We're gonna get into that,
Vengeance.
dive into that,
Uh-huh.
and then lastly, I'm gonna bring up. I'll read the headline for you. This just happened today. New Yorkers with marijuana convictions will get first retail
I
licenses.
saw that today on like a little Instagram post. Interesting. Very interesting. All right.
So those are the things we'll be talking about. And anything you got to say before we get in?
Man, I think me and you are on the same mindset right now where I still can't believe this happened. But outside of that, as per usual, I'm excited as fuck to be here. Even just to be in the comic book, but just to be able to talk. This is the best part of the week right here. Feel me?
Right.
Yeah, man.
And also I've been working on my out call, because
Okay.
you know how you say good morning, good evening, good night.
Yeah.
I was thinking for my thing, I can say good night, good evening, good morning.
So creative.
I think it's pretty good.
Nah, it is. What can I say? I forgot what I was gonna say. So fuck it. Let's just keep going.
All right. So with Russia and Ukraine, here's a bit of an update.
Okay.
It's been 13 days since the invasion began.
Mhm.
Tomorrow will mark 2 weeks.
Mhm.
And again, it's March 9th, so tomorrow, March 10th. And the big thing I want to point out is that companies are pulling out of Russia like
Crazy.
Like crazy.
I heard like Netflix and shit like that is gonna pull out and all that stuff.
Yep, their pullout game is super strong.
I was gonna make the joke, but you beat me to it.
Everyone is just beating them to it, and it's really crazy. So I'm going to try and go down this list of all the companies that I could find that have backed out of Russia.
Okay.
And I'm going to try and do it in one breath.
Okay. All right. You challenge yourself.
Here we go.
Go.
IKEA will continue to operate its major chain of shopping centers to ensure access to essentials. TJX, which owns TJ Maxx and Marshalls, H&M, Nike, Adidas, Shell, BP, Exxon, Mobil, Amex, MasterCard, and Visa. Cards issued by Russian banks will not work in other countries, and cards issued elsewhere will not work in Russia. McDonald's, Starbucks, Coca-Cola, which just did this yesterday, PepsiCo, Yum Banks, Netflix, Disney, Sony, Warner Bros.
Damn.
Amazon, Google, Minecraft, Apple, IBM, UPS, FedEx, DHL, American Airlines, Delta Airlines, United Airlines. And then just recently, this is why I want to bring this up.
It's not one breath, by the way.
Nope.
Not anymore.
And then just recently, video game companies have been pulling out too.
Really?
And so that's something I kind of want to dive into a little bit of the video game industry getting political.
I heard on FIFA, I think you can't buy Russian players no more or something like that.
Well, it's funny that you bring up FIFA because EA was actually...
How funny was it that I brought that up?
It's fucking hilarious. You can't tell by my face how fucking funny that was, Frankie.
Just want to make sure.
But anyways, EA, they were one of the first companies to pull out of Russia. Following after that was CD Projekt Red. And CD Projekt Red, they're known for The Witcher series and Cyberpunk 2077.
I've heard nothing but good things about The Witcher.
So I've been meaning to get into that, but it's so many games.
Yeah, man.
I got too many games to play.
Stop playing these games, Javi.
I want to play these games, Frankie.
But then it's a shitload of list. That's a shit long list. I don't know what I'm saying, but it's a big list. I know like gas prices are high as fuck right now. I don't drive, so it doesn't really affect me. That sucks for you guys. I hope you listen to this in your car after paying guap for your gas.
Listening to it while they're driving.
Thanks, Biden. What's up? 1 second. Yeah, gas prices are up to $6 in some places. So, No, I'm just kidding. That sucks ass, and I never understood the correlation between like worldly events and gas prices, and now I do. Now I clearly do.
Well, like I said, a lot of video game companies have pulled out. EA, CD Projekt Red were the first ones to do it, and I'm going to try and pronounce his name as best as I can.
In one breath.
Mikhailo Fedorov, who's the vice prime minister of Ukraine. And he actually sent out a request to Xbox and PlayStation, basically requesting that accounts be blocked and that they cancel all and any esports events that could be in Russia. And this happened on March 2nd.
You think he did it through the Xbox messaging thing? Like, beep, boop, boop.
That'd be pretty funny if he just sent it to every Russian player. They just get an Xbox message. But
so he sent he asked Xbox and who else?
PlayStation
to not what?
To basically he wants like accounts to be blocked temporarily and for any esports to be canceled that could be happening in Russia.
Interesting.
And that happened on March 2nd, and then just after that, Epic Games, Ubisoft, Take-Two, Activision Blizzard, Twitch, all backed out.
Jesus.
And
backed out like they didn't participate in blocking the accounts, or they're not gonna
they're not participating with Russia.
I got you.
And so as I listed earlier, Microsoft is one of the companies that have backed out as well. So in terms of Xbox stuff, that is all affected now, like Game Pass, Xbox Live, all that stuff. If you're from Russia, you can't use it pretty much.
Oh shit, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Okay.
So the reason why I wanted to bring this up is because there's a lot of people that are being affected by this that are just normal citizens of Russia that don't really are just being affected by this without much control. And
it's like it's Putin's fault, not their fault. And there's bigger things to worry about, of course, like dying and everything, but no Game Pass.
Well, besides even just not having Game Pass, there are something that was considered is that there are people who actually play video games for a living.
Oh, of course. Like streaming and all that stuff. Streaming
and things like that. And so there are streamers that are getting cut off from the independent internet.
That's interesting.
Because you can't get VPNs anymore because companies are pulling out from Russia.
That's what I was going to say. What if they use VPNs to, use it and they can't do that instead?
Can't do it anymore.
It's crazy, bro.
So they can't even get on the free internet, and it's only left them with this Russian propaganda that's been going on in their country, and they can't really see what's truly going on in the world because of it. Because on top of that, Russia also banned some social media apps. They banned Facebook and Twitter. That happened on March 4th.
So you can't use Facebook and Twitter in Russia?
Yeah, it's just You
I feel
just
like
can't
this
use
is
it.
crazy that we're talking about because these seem more like I know it affects people with jobs in that area, but it seems more like a first world problem. Like people are like they're like my leg, this and that, and some guys they're like, man, I can't play fucking Game Pass. It's like two different things. They're two different types of problems.
I can't make racist comments on my grandma's picture on Facebook.
Exactly, man. Things that actually matter. So,
But one streamer, Jesus AVGN, left Russia to the US.
okay.
And he had a quote which I thought was pretty interesting. He said, "For many years, I have been against Putin, a regime because of which I had to flee my home country. And yet I still have to answer for all the terrible actions of Putin, even in another country."
Yeah.
And what I also found out pretty recently is that they took a poll to see how Russian citizens feel about the invasion. What they've found out of 1,640 adults in the country, 58% of Russians support the invasion
Really?
and 23% oppose it.
I never really thought about the side that, supports it, just because obviously everybody's against what's happening in that, and, to each his own in terms of opinion. But what do you think the benefits would be if they do, completely take over Ukraine? What's the benefit towards Russia? Just power? Or like he wants to instill the Soviet Union or what? Like,
I mean, it's just so up in the air because we still don't know what his end goal is. We don't know if he just wants like the eastern part of Ukraine, or if he wants all of Ukraine. So we have no idea what the fuck is going on in his head. And something that also happened is that now Russia is calling out America on economic war because of everything that we're doing in terms of cutting off oil and supplies and things like that. So Russia is calling us out on an economic war because they're running out of money and they can't fuel their military.
Yeah. Or I also hear that, you need to heat your house up, and I mean, just a whole bunch of things, little aspects of people's lives. So like, the gaming stuff, heating your house up with, what is it? Heater, of course, like gas and all that stuff. And I don't know, man. I think it's interesting. I'm confused about it overall because I just see a bunch of headlines now that are just Russia, Ukraine, this and that. I know there's so many things to follow, but I kind of just got lost within that story because I kind of stopped paying attention. Ultimately,
it's hard to follow, and it was kind of hard to put this together even because I was like, how do I go through all of this while touching a little bit of everything? Because there's so much shit going on. It's like every other day something bad is happening, and yeah, it is. Crime rate is up.
Yeah, and I was also thinking like, how do you think Russians are looked at now? And I was at a bar in Queens the other day, and the bartender was Russian. I thought she was Irish, but she was Russian. And I think there's a little stigma that comes with that now too, which is, of course, she's not Putin. There's nothing, But how does it feel to go around the area and be like, oh yeah, I'm Russian and this and that, and not to shame anybody and where they're from, to represent where you come from, because that's important to you and always will be. But there's that stigma now. You're associated with something that Putin has labeled, the country as. And that's very interesting to me because the second she said that, I started to hate her. No, I'm kidding. I wondered that thought and how it's going to affect it in the future for tourists that go to different places and stuff like that. And it must be scary,
Yeah, and just to pull up more numbers about this poll that they took, 46%, because to be more specific about the numbers of 58% of them supporting the invasion, 46% of them firmly support the invasion, 13% of them somewhat support it, while the 23% oppose it.
Yeah.
And then 13% had no opinion or declined to answer, and 6% said they were on the fence. What's also interesting about those numbers is that from the ages of 18 to 24, 29% were in support and 39% were opposing it. So younger people are more against it, which isn't super surprising. And then you look at people who are 66 and older, and they are 75% in support of this invasion. So
that's very interesting. As to why, that's super. I have no idea how to comment on that, just because. I mean, I get why the young people, are against it because, they're wise. I guess they're taught more and they have more open minds and this and that. But I mean, those 66 years old and above are also citizens too of that country. So aside being entitled to their opinion, I wonder what it is, man. That I mean, when your country is fighting for something, you have nothing to do but support it. You've been your whole life. That patriotism is real.
I mean, well, there is a difference between patriotism and nationalism.
Oh, shit. Educate me, how, because I don't know the difference.
Patriotism is when you love your country for what it does, and nationalism is when you love your country no matter what it does.
Oh, shit.
So
Okay.
you can be a patriot, but you can still go against the grain. You don't have to always be in support of your country, and that doesn't make you anti-American or anti-whatever
I
you're
don't
from.
agree with what's happening at the moment.
Yes.
Okay. I didn't know that. That's fucking crazy. Well,
The more you fucking know.
definitely that. Well, poor Ukraine, and as Zelensky guy is getting the credit of the world. I don't know if we brought it up last time, but there's just also a lot of things that are people are posting on social media happening in Ukraine that is just fake and everything. I don't know if you ever seen the video of the tank crushing the car.
I haven't seen it.
So there was this video of a tank crushing a car, and they said that it was a Russian tank that crushed the car, and the person survived, thankfully. But Russian tanks usually have like a white Z on them, and so it was actually a Ukrainian tank that went out of control that ran over a car, and so that was made to be something that it isn't. There's photos of Zelensky, like with troops, and that they're like always on the front lines and this and that, which he may or may not be, but that photo was taken like 2019.
Yeah. And I mean, it's interesting that you bring that up because another thing I want to bring up about the whole Russia-Ukraine situation is the approximate death toll that we're at right now currently. And the reason why that's interesting is because there's a sort of conversation or debate going on of whether it's propagandic to sort of share the death toll numbers like this. Because
it's like a flex almost. Like, oh, there's this much deaths if you're talking about Ukrainians and Russia and vice versa.
It's not. I wouldn't say too much of a flex. I would say it's done more so because. I'll let me tell you the numbers.
Okay.
So these numbers were reported on March 8th. So yesterday. And United Nations recorded at least 1,207 civilian casualties. 406 were killed. And 801 were injured. And then the Ukrainian state emergency reported more than 2,000 civilians injured, but that hasn't been verified. So immediately the numbers aren't matching from different reports. And then Russia themselves, they claim that 2,870 Ukrainian troops were killed and more than 3,500 wounded. But on Sunday, Ukraine claimed also that 11,000 Russian soldiers were killed, even though Russia claims and acknowledges only 498 deaths. So there's a lot of he said, she said of almost saying, because the way I see it is that Ukraine probably wants to show that they're killing all these Russians and whatever as it more as a flex to be like, look at how well we're defending our country.
So it is a flex.
I guess at the end of the day, it is kind of a flex.
I'm joking, but you're right. Like it guess it promotes the, hey, stop coming here because this is gonna happen to you if you get here. But I just meant it more. I thought Russia would just announce the death toll just to, discourage Ukraine from fighting back. Just to be like, hey, look how many people are dying at this rate, this and that. Let's just announce the death toll. But I think it should be done just to keep more information out there and let yourself develop the opinion.
Yeah, I mean, and again, there's a conversation going on of whether this is propagandic or not because, with Russia especially, they already have propaganda going on in their country, and so we don't know what numbers they could be reporting right now on the news and things like that. So it's really up in the air, and it's almost hard to make a proper opinion of it because the numbers are so messed up. Yeah, but what can you do?
And they speak about how Russia represents the war on TV is way different than how the world is, announcing what's happening. Yeah, and apparently, I don't even know how true this is, just because of Anonymous. Like how they said that they broadcasted the war footage on Russian TVs. I didn't fact check that myself, so I can't really say it as an absolute sure. I feel like a lot of things that happen with Anonymous are more just already happening or not, because who knows what they're up to. I know they exist, right? Yeah, supposedly or this and that. But who knows if they actually did that, if that's fake footage. I don't know. I have no idea, man. It's hard to believe anything you see on social media nowadays, Yeah. It's easily discredited, or somebody could lie and just discredit it and make something true not.
I mean, one story that I know of that I'm actually working on is the story of the Ghost of Kiev. And it's basically about this dude who in the first couple hours of the war took down 6 Russian aircrafts.
I think that's also a hoax, or somewhat of a hoax. Isn't it a woman?
Even besides that, there's just no proof of it. And any evidence that has been shown out has been debunked already. The supposed picture of him was a picture from 2019.
There we go. That's also that too.
the supposed clip of him flying through the air and like aircrafts exploding around
Doing
him.
spins and shit.
It came from a simulation.
Oh, and there's a lot of footage that's been shown that are from video games.
Mhm.
A lot of explosions that are shown are just video game footage. So that's fucking crazy, man. First of all, props to the video games for making the realistic footage. But I mean, they can just use that now and just put it in the news.
Yeah,
And
so
it's irresponsible of the news.
and that clip that I mentioned, the Ukraine themselves, they put it in a montage video where they shouted out the Ghost of Kiev on their Twitter page. So the country themselves are playing into these myths because it boosts morale and things like that.
That's true.
But when does it become propaganda?
Yeah.
So it's a really interesting conversation to have.
That's a really good point you make right there. Because that now you're lying and just you're just pushing a false narrative that encourages your stuff regardless of the truth. Propaganda is ultimately what it is, right?
Yeah.
Shit.
So that was just a super condensed update of Russia and Ukraine, because there's still so much going on, and it's like you said, it's really hard to keep up with it because it's a lot.
Yeah.
Like a church just got bombed today in Ukraine,
Really?
and or I think an orphanage, one of the two, a church
Still
or an
sad.
orphanage.
Yeah.
And shit's just getting really bad, and it doesn't seem like it's going to end anytime soon.
The end goal aspect is interesting because I don't know what he wants to do, that Putin guy, you know? And
That Putin.
that piece of shit. But who knows? And hopefully it doesn't get crazy, and hopefully the nuclear aspect doesn't sprout, because that's the one thing that I'm worried about. Because once you go there, there's no coming back from that stuff. So
That's a box you can't close.
facts. Or a briefcase, actually. he walks around with a briefcase all the time that has that access, apparently.
It should be a wristband.
Respect.
That way no one can tell. Oh, it should be a scrunchie. That way no one would really know.
For the hair he doesn't
But he's
have.
bald. Fuck.
Nice one. It'd be a headband.
I completely missed that. Fuck.
Back in the day when he was young and beautiful. He probably walked around with the nuclear scrunchie, but not anymore, man. Not anymore. All right, well, that's Russia, Ukraine and shit. And I just wish I had more to say about it, but I guess my mind's just overwhelmed with the whole aspect of it. You know, it just seems all crazy, man. And I'm lost. I'm just lost within it. And people get tired of things easily today now, especially me. Today, a story will be crazy and everybody will be talking about one person. 2 days later, there's a new cat video that everybody loves. So it was just, that could help, that could really hurt the push to help Ukraine.
Yo, real quick, shout out. This is a shout out for the episode. Shout out to my cousin's cat, Gouda.
Gouda?
Gouda.
Like the cheese?
Like the cheese.
Is it spelled like Gouda?
Gouda.
Why they name him Gouda? Just cause?
Just cause.
That's pretty cute. Shout out to you, Gouda. I hope you're listening. But yeah, now support is basically just, paint things yellow and blue. Rather than, and I mean, there's so much money being donated. I know that's never going to hurt anything. I just, what else can we do aside, donate and help?
Yeah.
So that's interesting, man.
Yeah. Well, to move on to the next topic, we're going to be talking about, just like how we talked about Spider-Man No Way Home.
Oh, yeah. So let's, because, usually I don't care, but we'll do it for the people. Spoilers ahead. And Javi will put in the time point when it stops, which is
boom.
Nice. I meant for the audio. Let's do it again.
I mean, it works for the audio too. Right after I say boom, it's
you're right.
Put the timestamp right here, Frankie.
Right there. Now.
Okay.
Check out our last video featuring Gandhi. And yeah, man. So yeah, I'm excited.
Real G.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk about the Batman, man, because that was a great movie. It's a great fucking movie.
Before we talk about the film itself, I want to bring up an interesting story that came out about the Batman.
Okay.
So, did you notice anything different about the price of your ticket when you went to go watch the Batman?
I went to watch it in 2 theaters. One, how can I say? The one that I saw in Manhattan was $15.50. So that was cheap as fuck for the IMAX theater. I've never been to that theater, by the way, the Lincoln Square one. That shit is amazing. That's not a theater, that's a coliseum. It's such a huge theater. Like, I looked to my right, I could see a whole row of people over there, and I was amazed by the IMAX. Because the one I go to is in Williamsburg, called Williamsburg Cinema. And it's pretty, like, just not the best theater. It's kind of, some of the screens are extremely small. They're just so close to me, and you go there on the weekdays, there's nobody there. But I think those tickets were around 15 as well.
Okay.
So, but what happened? What's up with the tickets?
Well, AMC, they are
Albums, movies, comics.
well, AMC, the movie company,
Yeah.
movie theater chain, they used the Batman to test out a new experiment. So in Europe, they've been doing this for quite a while. So it's nothing necessarily new, but it's new to the US.
Gotcha.
And what they're doing is that they are raising the price of tickets of movies that are hot and like in the top box office type thing.
So the better they are, the more expensive they'll be?
How do you mean?
So you're saying they're raising the tickets based on the popularity of the movie?
Yes.
So the better the movie, the higher ticket, and the movie sucks is lower, or just standard?
Well, not that it sucks, but just like...
No, like a not so popular movie.
Yes.
Okay, which sucks.
But, yeah, and like I said, they've been doing this in Europe for years, and people are paying as much as an extra $1.50 for the tickets.
Okay.
So it's not like a massive price jump or anything like that. And you would think that, well, when AMC first announced this, and I pulled out a quote where they said, "We charge a premium for the best seats in the house, as do just about all sellers of tickets in other industries. Take sports events, concerts, and live theater, for example."
That's interesting because I would say like seat choice is a preference. You know, I mean, for me, I like sitting kind of in the middle. But when I was in the IMAX theater, my friend, shout out to David, brought me over there. We sat at the top all the way to the left. Because he said when he sits in the middle of an IMAX theater, you can see the blue lights come in when it's really dark on the screen. I don't know if you know what he's talking about.
I haven't noticed that myself.
And I figured that's just a preference thing. So how would you charge for I don't know how they would price it. So what is the better seats then, if anything?
Well, it's not necessarily for a better seat. You're just paying extra just to be able to watch the movie.
Oh, so it's just for the movie itself?
Yeah, just for the movie itself. It's not for the seats.
Oh, okay.
And because clearly this didn't really affect much, because the Batman is the second pandemic era movie to cross 100 million in the box office in a single weekend.
It's still considered pandemic movies because we're in a pandemic?
Yeah.
Interesting.
So the first one that did that was Spider-Man. So a pretty short time span in between both movies where that record has been beaten. So, and there's definitely been a lot of talks of like the revival of movie theaters and things like that, especially now like near the end of like COVID and things like that. So it definitely...
Did Batman do better than Spider-Man?
It didn't do better than Spider-Man.
Oh, okay. Yeah, or is just no chance of it happening anymore? Like opening week wise?
No, it didn't do better opening weekend. And I don't think it's going to get nowhere near those numbers, honestly. I really don't think so.
I was talking to the people I went to see the movie, and they said that they like Spider-Man way better than Batman. And I have mixed opinions on it, this and that, but interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah. And well, also THR on the Hollywood Reporter, they also reported that Cinemark and Regal also did the same thing for the Batman. And that apparently, I couldn't really find the exact details of this, but apparently they did this for Spider-Man as well. And no one noticed.
I think nobody cared. They were just like, just get me in that theater.
And that's the big thing, because everyone was really upset when they first announced this of like, oh, why are you going to raise the price of my ticket and this and that and blah, blah, blah. But you're still going to go watch the movie.
100%. There's no doubt about it. And I feel... in a sense, I mean, movie tickets are kind of a bang for your buck. You know, you're sitting in a huge ass theater, you get the best quality, especially with an IMAX ticket. And you're seeing a big ass screen. I mean, technically, they could charge like kind of like video games, like $60 to see the movie. I know nobody would want to do that.
I wonder how much 40X costs.
40X? What do you mean?
You haven't heard of 40X?
What is this?
It's I think it's like in Regal theaters where it's the chair moves and like they
like
blow
4D
wind
shit?
And like they blow wind at you and like sprinkle water at you and shit, and
some guy with a pail of water. Go.
I don't ever want to watch a movie in 40X because my old manager, he once said to me that he saw like a horror movie in 40X, and every time that someone got killed and the blood splattered, he would get sprayed with water.
That's fucking cool. I sat in it was I think for A Bug's Life or something. I think I was in Disney World or some shit, and they have the point where when the bugs are crawling around, they like make it seem like they're going into the theater, or rats, and the wind would shoot towards your feet, so it would feel like there's bugs on your feet. So you see everybody like just tricked into that little world. But I think they've done, what's that movie, that Christmas movie, like the train.
Polar Express.
Yeah, they've done it for that and a whole bunch of stuff. And like if they're baking cookies, they'll make it smell like cookies, which is interesting. I don't know if that one is true, but But I think it would be a cool thing for the future. I think in the future there'll also be VR headsets in the theater, which wouldn't it diminish the whole theater aspect?
I mean, I've tried watching movies in VR before, but it's just not the same.
But are they filmed for VR?
Well, because there are certain apps where you can set yourself up in a private theater type thing, so that way
You walk in and stuff like that.
Well, not you walk in. It's just like you load it up. You just load it up, and it's just you're automatically sitting in the chair, and like it's like you're in a theater by yourself, and it's like a massive screen.
Imagine shooting like a movie, like an Avengers movie in the future, but all of it was with the intent that you're gonna wear a VR headset while you watch the movie.
I mean, there are VR like short films and things like that, and those are cool and interesting.
But when you get some Marvel money in there, that's just gonna be crazy. You feel me?
I mean, VR has a great way of storytelling for sure, because it's the best way to get yourself literally into it. So, there's even a Van Gogh VR thing at the Van Gogh exhibit where I haven't done it myself yet, but I hear it's really cool. Where
you cut off your own ear and then
imagine it was like goggles, and like they do that, but then you can't put the goggles on because you're missing an ear.
Like, damn it!
It's like, what's the point of this? It doesn't work.
I was gonna say. But they do it at the Van Gogh exhibit. You could put on the headset and like see his paintings or what?
It's like an experience that they created, where it's just kind of like a little VR short film, or I guess it just kind of puts you in a sort of like psychedelic-esque like looking thing that looks like Van Gogh's art style.
How you think in the metaverse theaters will be? You don't think it'd be worth it? You don't think it'll be there? It's crazy, bro.
Even hearing the words metaverse.
Oh, you're tired of it now? You don't like the idea of metaverse?
I think it's so I think it's so gross.
How come? How come for that person that can't walk and wants to go into a field and puts on their metaverse goggles and goes and interacts with people and walks around and stuff like that?
Because that's not the intention.
What's the intention?
To make money.
To make Wall-E true?
To make money.
What's the intention of making a movie?
I mean, not everyone's intention for a movie is for money.
No doubt, but a movie theater's intention is to make some money off of it.
Of course,
money makes the world go round, man.
I mean, it does. Yeah. But the metaverse itself is like the pinnacle of capitalism.
No, you're
like,
right.
It's nah.
I don't know. The reason I don't think so is just because it's a new thing to do. You know, it's just a new step into the future. You know, like I don't know how it could be applied to our everyday lives and stuff like that, but in the future, I'm sure there'll be business meetings done in the metaverse.
Oh, I mean, there definitely are. We should put this in the supplementary, but HTC released the most cringiest like metaverse video of theirs, because HTC they have the Vive, which is their own VR headset, and they're creating the Vive verse.
The Vive verse. That I don't like. Especially with your air quotes. But you. Well, so what is the Vive verse? What is that? It's just their version of Meta?
It's just their version of the metaverse.
There's gonna be a bunch of bootleg metaverses. you remember Tamagotchis?
Yeah.
So what was the whole point of it? You had a figure, a little beep beep boop that you took care of.
Yeah,
right?
like a fake pet.
So what about that in the metaverse? You have a fucking dragon that you take care of.
That'd be cool.
That'd be cool, right?
There's in one of the
I like how you said it, like, yeah, whatever, man, that'd be cool, whatever.
Well, no, because immediately made me think of that there's this game from Steam called I forget the name of it, but it's just a VR game with a bunch of mini games in it, and there's like a robot dog that walks around and you can play fetch with it and stuff, and it's like pretty cool.
Just it starts off with that, with just little things about it, and then it just you get immersed in it, and it becomes a part of your day, just like your phone now. Like now a phone is an extension of yourself, right? So every day you have to check your phone for something and this and that. So what's going to be the next application through Meta that we're going to have to use every single day? You know, what if you want to travel somewhere and you can tour with the headset before you go there?
I feel like businesses are already diving deep into VR and AR technology, and I think that's where we're going to see it really like expand, like how you mentioned earlier, like business meetings and things like that. I think that's where it's really going to become like an essential. Yeah. Where like, especially nowadays where people work like from home and work remote and things like that, I can picture it already where it's just like, all right, we have a meeting. Headset on.
Like, you remember that guy who got caught jerking off during his meeting on the Zoom chat?
No.
I thought you'd be like, yeah, nah, what about him? He was on a Zoom chat and for his business or whatever. And I guess he had thought that the Zoom was off. So he just began to jerk off. And they were like, yo. Dave, put it away. and it's one of those things where you just can't look away, you know.
Oh no.
But I don't know. I think of really creepy uses for the metaverse. Not that I'm a creep, right?
But that's the first thing your mind goes to.
Yeah, because it gets really crazy out there, and then you think about like on Xbox where you could talk to anybody in the world, and how it took a long time to take control of like just chat rooms and everything, right? Even now, it's hard to control that. Yeah, again, now I'm bringing up a whole bunch of different things, but the Mexican cartel actually used a lot of like Xbox and stuff to recruit people.
Huh.
Yeah, so they would talk, and I think even when it comes down to Al Qaeda and stuff, they use chat rooms in different games or something like that. They use the chat rooms as a way to communicate because it's so unsupervised.
Interesting.
But when I think of the metaverse and how creepy it can get, I just think of adults and kids and how there's no blockage. There's no this. You know, you can make it kid friendly and all that, but once you have access to the game, when is that interaction going to go too far? And they have these sensors now that you can put on your hands, so you can feel somebody else's hand
and suits and stuff and things like that.
That's when shit gets really crazy, you know. Because
there's already a lot of talk of like how to separate children from VR and like how to make it safe for them because it's right now VR is like the Wild West. Yeah,
so, definitely. And a lot of shit is gonna go down before it actually gets better. But I guess you gotta let it go bad to fix it to find out.
Yeah,
but I don't know, man. That shit is gonna be weird. I fuck with the VR stuff, and I know you actually have it, right? Mm-hmm. But for me, like since I don't use it as much, I can't wait to get lost within that because I know it's gonna make video games cooler, movies cooler. And a whole bunch of shit, man. So
hell yeah.
Imagine like concerts, music videos. I don't know what, man. So.
Concerts aren't like watching a concert is cool and all, but like even because I've watched like 2 concerts in VR before, but it's like it doesn't hit the same.
The artist just throws water and you're just throwing water at yourself, like yeah, this is awesome. It's just gonna change the world, man. And I just can't guess right now, but I bet you when it comes out, we'll be like, oh, that's exactly what they were trying to do the whole time. So there has to be bigger plans.
It's been right in our faces the whole time.
We are already in VR, man. Everything's a simulation.
I would reference something, but you wouldn't get it.
Reference it.
The Matrix.
Yeah, man. I fell asleep the first time I watched it, but I was just really tired. I was just really, really tired and everything. So
you took a sleep pill, not a blue or red pill.
I don't get it. Nah, I get that. Well, so what's happened with the Batman?
So with the Batman, I saw it on Monday. I saw it in IMAX as well, Lincoln Square.
Blessed.
And I watched it with my brother and his friend, and it was super fucking dope.
Yeah, okay.
I enjoyed it a lot. I did my best to go in with no expectations. People kept asking me, Javi, what do you think? Javi, what do you what do you think is gonna happen?
Just hand in your chin. Give me some time.
And honestly, every time I'm just like, I don't know. I'm like, yo, man, let me watch it.
Oh, okay.
But so I was really excited to watch it because I've been waiting for this for a hot minute.
Yeah.
And I was actually sort of in support of Robert Pattinson. I want to call him Pattinson every time. But for the one time, Robert Pattinson.
Robert Pattinson. I wasn't at first because I was like, what the fuck, man? This is a random person to put as Batman. But I wasn't really looking down on it. I just thought it was random, you know? But the Ben Affleck one, I've never seen him play Batman yet. So what are your feelings on the Ben Affleck Batman?
He's all right.
Imagine working your ass off for a whole movie. And then what do you think about Ben Affleck? Yeah.
I mean, like, I like his suit. Like, he has a great bat suit.
I like his clothes.
I think his bat suit is really good. But he's all right.
Seinfeld makes a funny joke where he's like, clothes, you know, you get compliments for the clothes, but you never get compliments for the person in the clothes. It's just a whole thing. That's why it's funny when you're like, yeah, I like his suit, but I hate the person.
Hey, I don't hate him. Whoa, hey, whoa. No, I'm not going to get Italian.
We did it way too much last episode. This is not to like jump too into it, but the person I was watching it, he has the Star Wars tattoo on his thigh, right? And so I was curious to see what he would think about, you know, the Batman also. But I asked him, like, what did you think of what's his name, Jared Leto, who did the Joker? Right? I just, you know, what did you think of the Jared Leto Joker? He's like, I never watched it. And I'm like,
wow.
Yeah, he's like, I'm like, oh, okay. And then he just leaned toward me. He was like, I don't think anybody's gonna do better than Heath Ledger ever, you know. And I think so too. I really like the Heath Ledger Joker.
Yeah,
I don't even think Joaquin Phoenix's Joker was better than Heath Ledger's. Even though it was fucking, I know you don't like it.
No. I mean, Joaquin Phoenix is my favorite part of Joker, regardless that I didn't like the movie. But like, I've always felt iffy about comparing Heath Ledger and Joaquin Phoenix because I feel like they're like different flavors. It's like you can't compare them, like they're not like apples to apples. Pretty much.
It's like Alive and Dead.
Oh God, I was waiting for you to like squeeze that in somehow.
No, but that's fair, I guess. You know, because I kind of look at it the same way too, because they're just so different movies. You know, but the suit that Joker wears in The Joker, I loved it. I love the suit and everything. So, but that's just to go into that route a little. We'll get into it towards the end of the movie because guess what? Okay, so the movie starts, right? So what do you think about the beginning and stuff like that?
Well, the movie starts and immediately I feel like something that was so clear to me from the get-go is that Gotham is a character in this movie because we see so much of Gotham in this movie. It's so like it feels so alive.
Like the real world experience of it.
Yeah, it like because if you compare it to like the Nolan films and whatever, like that was just Chicago. It just kind of felt like another city. Like this Gotham felt alive. Like
it felt like a video game almost.
I saw a review where someone said that this is the closest that the movies have gotten to the Arkham games. And so I think that's a pretty good remark to make because it immediately I just the bat signal and like how dark everything is and like the crime going out and immediately the narration because I love narration in movies. I'm always for it. The second a motherfucker starts narrating to me, I'm like, oh,
5 stars. That's mad funny. And I think that would be the one thing. All right.
So immediately I was like, I'm getting into this. And well, I mean, even before that with the Riddler, like the first kill, like I thought that was a really like cold open is kind of what it's called, where it's like it's really still and it's like there's not a lot happening
until that moment just comes about. And 2 questions. One, in the beginning when they had the little person, like the kid,
the little person,
the tiny human,
little bits.
They were wearing like a red robe with the hood on it. You remember that? Was that in reference or anything, or was that just because it's Halloween during the time percent of the movie?
It was just like Halloween, so I think it was just like his costume.
Got you.
Because I think he was just like a ninja or something because he had like the sword. So
got you. I thought it was gonna be like some character that's gonna come out in the future, this and that. But also, it's interesting because in the last discussion we had, we were talking about, you know, what's the difference between like beating somebody to death compared to like a gun. And I think that's kind of cool with the Riddler, how he kind of just goes behind you and just starts smashing you. And not so terribly where you're like demolished, but it's kind of crude to just really just be like, you know, and just keep going. And the way he does it, like he pulls his arm all the way back and
he really winds it up.
Yeah, man. And that is cruel because not to jump ahead again, but with the second person who does it too, you hear the screams and they blur everything out and he's like, you know, and it's just scary, you know. But again, the point that I think we both know is that it wasn't rated R.
Yes. That immediately I would like, because as soon as Batman shows up, which I thought was just like, this suit, I think is one of the, I think is the best bat suit.
And this guy's jawline is perfect.
That jawline could break glass. Oh my God.
Cut cheese, bro.
He could knock out thugs with just his jaw. Like, oh my God.
He could just walk into the room. They'll be like, no, your jaw. I don't want to punch your jaw.
He is a crimson chin.
I think my friend told me is that they call that a Superman chin or something like that, where to play these certain characters, you have to have that chin. And I felt, you know, jokes aside from Robert Pattinson's A1 chin, it's like cut, you know, like perfectly. So when you look at the comic books and this and that, or just drawings of the Batman, even the one right here, which is just so refined where it fit the mask perfectly. I do like the suit a lot myself.
Yeah, the way it sounds so heavy, the way it just clunks with every step.
You can hear the leather in the step, like
the metal just like donk, donk, and it's just like it's such a heavy suit. Yeah, it was so badass,
and the narration,
and
his voice was good for the film too. I like that he wasn't talking like this, you know, because I didn't know what the fuck Christian Bale was saying for half the movie last time. I was like, what is this, bro? He just throws just. So I think that. Robert Pattinson's voice is really good for the movie too. Like he didn't try too hard to represent it vocally. I know he's directed by a bunch of people to do things too, but yeah, he killed that shit.
Yeah, I mean, so real quick too, like this movie was directed and written by Matt Reeves. And
who is this person?
I love Matt Reeves. Okay. He directed the first Cloverfield
Okay.
He also wrote and directed the Planet of the Apes reboot trilogy.
I've only seen, I think, a little bit of the Planet of the Apes. I liked Cloverfield and the concept. I didn't love the movie fully. Like I didn't like.
Okay.
I'm not saying it was bad or anything. I was right with it, but I just loved the first person, camera thing and all that stuff. So that shit is just fun always.
Yeah, but that's Matt Reeves, and I think he does great work. And so I was super excited of to hear that he was going to be doing this. So
Awesome.
and I think it's very much his style because he very much has a methodical method to how he constructs his movies. It's almost like dominoes are being placed and they just kind of land on top of each other.
Definitely with the Riddler and stuff like that. Everything just kept going and going and going. And I love the music in the movie.
The music was fantastic.
It was great, consistent, and I mean, it just was perfect to me.
I saw one review where someone said they felt like it was overused a little bit.
Yeah, I think a friend of mine was saying that too. I just liked it just because it was simple. It wasn't too extravagant, Aside the Nirvana and like those other electronic music, for the certain scenes. I just how the violins really they really come in good, it's perfect. I don't know, and I like how consistent it was. It felt like it never stopped from the beginning to end. It was meant to be that way the whole time. So I feel that domino effect kind of plays out because that movie plays out like that. Because once you see the Riddler come in, the whole story has begun. And it's really cool. That was my first exposure to the Riddler. Aside my friend dressing up as the Riddler with the cane. I'm like, where's his he has a cane, right? Something like that. I was like, where's his cane? This is not the Riddler I know. And he was Mexican too. So El Riddler.
No hable español.
And it's the upside down question mark. I love the breathing thing when he was like, that stuff. But what is that? Like, why does he have that mask on? He just hides his face. It's just his suit.
I mean, this take of the Riddler is sort of it like its own flavor.
Okay.
It's kind of new. Because the Riddler more known in the comics. He just kind of does everything from the shadows. He's not much of a killer.
Of a physical guy.
Yeah, he's not much of like a killer.
He's a thinker.
Yeah. So definitely like a bit of departure from like his character, but I think it still works because I mean, what I think is so interesting is because it's like a lot of the times when you get villains like these, they always end up a little bit like the Joker.
Oh, I think they have to be at this point just because of how famous the Joker has come out to be,
Yeah, and I think that also just kind of speaks to like you can't really have Batman without the Joker.
100%.
So
100%. But I think without him in the movie, for the most part, I think he did great. When I first watched the movie, it was like some talking in the movie theater. It's like some lady did this thing where she couldn't get her seat, so she was like, "I guess I'm gonna have to interrupt the whole movie for everybody." And me and Beatrice was like, "Oh, here we go," just that stuff and little distractions.
Should have been like, "Get the fuck up,
please," and just ruined the movie for everybody else too. And it was in the scene where he was talking, and the guy. This is again. I try to be like consistent with how we're going through the movie. There's just so much to talk about. But when he murders the second guy and he puts the rat cage on his face, and I wish they had shown his face getting eaten by rats. I know they kind of sneak it a little, but I really wish that was shown because I feel for how dark the Riddler was trying to be, it was kind of impossible. There was just this like restraint for that.
It's PG-13.
That sucks ass, and man. It should have been more just visual. Like that's why I'm so excited for the Doctor Strange movie. I felt
like it was always so close to like just really getting that grit. Every time he throws a punch, I expected blood to fly and things like that. And it's just, I wish that movie is rated R.
Me too. But I still think because of the storyline, and you're right with the imagery of Gotham itself, it just all fits perfectly. A friend of mine asked, like, you think they actually shot in New York City or this and that? And I think for the Times Square scene, they might have to use the footage.
They shot in a combination of New York, London, and Chicago.
Got you. I just think I thought to myself that there's so many places that look so crazy looking that it was just a set. Because it did look amazing the whole movie.
Yeah, I thought Zoe Kravitz was amazing.
Yeah, definitely that.
I thought she was so good.
Yeah.
I actually like her Catwoman better than Anne Hathaway's Catwoman.
I don't even remember Anne Hathaway. I remember Halle Berry, right? Halle Berry did it. I saw that movie.
We don't gotta talk about.
You mean the best Catwoman that ever was?
We don't gotta talk about Catwoman.
I forgot people are listening to that. You know, to the people that are listening. I asked Javi yesterday, like, how did Catwoman get her powers? Be thinking that she got scratched by some nuclear cat. She fell into a bag of hairballs, and then I was like, no, she's a cat burglar. And I was like, oh, fucking what? And I mean, I'm sure there's more to it, like where she gets her training from, or this and that. I don't know if that's part of it.
Not really. She just grew up in the slums. All right. And just living it up on her own, surviving.
I wanted more flavor there, but I guess whatever. But she did well in the movie for sure. I think they both were a good duo for sure. Mm-hmm. You know? Yeah,
I always love the Batman Catwoman relationship in the comics, mm-hmm. and Tom King, who's like a more modern writer, he had his own comic. I don't remember if it's finished right now, Batman Catwoman, and it talks a lot about that because in his run of Batman, that was sort of the overarching plot of it, the relationship between him and Selina.
Okay.
And I love that. Awesome. I love their relationship. I love how complicated it is, and I think the movie portrayed that really well. Like even at the final shot of like doing the Fast and Furious.
Yeah. I'll see you. At the end, again, when they kiss at the end, or, you know, there's a beautiful like fade out.
They don't even kiss at the end.
Not at the end, but when they do kiss,
yeah,
there was a beautiful way that they did it, where they kind of in the sunset is out and they blacked out their faces, and it's just the bat ears,
like the silhouette.
Oh my god, it was incredible. It's just really that, like, things like that are perfect, and you got to see those things to really know what we're talking about. But you know, it was just beautiful. If you've seen it already, you should know what I'm talking about.
I also thought Jim Gordon was awesome.
I think he was, to me, the favorite, my favorite cast like choice.
Oh really,
bro? His face was perfect. I told Beatrice watching the movie, I'm like, yo, his face is perfect, bro. Like his face is perfect, and
I
like,
can just imagine you in the theater, just like, yo, his face perfect.
It just because yesterday I ate like a sandwich, everything. Yo, I had a feast in the theater. Yo, get deli sandwiches before you go into the movies. Biggest tip, and you're welcome. It's the best. But no, his face was amazing because when he scrunched his eyes, you know, like in his glasses, it even looked like he had like the Batman thing on his face because his, you know. But I just thought, I don't know why I liked him better than the Gordon from The Dark Knight.
Okay.
Even, you know, because it's usually kind of the same shit, but I don't know why. But I really admired his character, how he was played and how he talked. And the way he interacted with the Batman was awesome.
My least favorite thing about like the movie in general, and this also like happened more often with Commissioner Gordon, or well, he's not even the commissioner in this. He's just he's lieutenant.
Oh, oops.
But I felt like there were definitely some cheesy or corny lines here and there throughout the movie, which like I felt like when I heard him, I was like, okay, let's run that back.
Like what? Do you remember? Or it was just a couple.
There was like one line where Jim Gordon, when they find the drop, like warehouse, and Batman and Jim Gordon, and Batman's looking through the ceiling, and he's like, oh, this is where they're manufacturing it and whatever. And like Gordon's like, what do you mean? Like they're still making it? Like, are you telling me that the biggest drug bust in Gotham is a scam? And it's like, it was just lines like that.
Even like, you saying, and I'm like, can we shoot that again? That was so like anticlimactic, bro.
So it was just lines like that here and there where I was just kind of like,
okay, I got you.
That felt like just a little too tropish.
Gotcha.
So I was like, whatever. But there were definitely a couple of like, I feel like plot holes in terms of just small like story things, like when Batman gets shot at the warehouse and he's kind of like on the ground, and then somehow he just magically ends up in his car.
Oh, I actually, with the getting shot thing, and so with this Batman and what I got from watching it the second time, you know, and discussing it, I was very confused about a couple of things, and after the introduction, the Penguin is later. Like Zoe Kravitz comes in as the waitress, and the Penguin is there, and I was alright with the Penguin. Like I think he did great. I just didn't love his like the casting of him.
I thought Colin Farrell killed it.
It's Colin Farrell, right? I heard he wears a fat suit and stuff like that.
Yeah, he doesn't even look like Colin Farrell.
Yeah, like I'm not saying he was terrible. Like it was a good character to me. Just nothing special.
Like Colin Farrell's a good looking dude. He's not good looking in this movie.
And we'll get to the Penguin in a second, but when it comes to the Batman, he made a lot of mistakes in the movie, right? Like he got shot plenty of times. There was the scene where he jumped off the roof and he's gliding through the air, and then he pulls his chute, and then he kind of just gets crushed,
fucking scooped up by like the train thing, the train tracks, and that was brutal.
And for me, I was thinking, just because he why would he make those mistakes? Like why is he constantly getting in like these problems that I never expected the Batman to get into? And then some people were thinking that it's because he's supposed to portray a younger Batman.
I mean, yeah, it's year 2.
It's year 2, okay.
If you look at his notebook, where he's journaling everything, it says
year 2,
year
right?
2 of the Gotham Project.
So this is year 2 of him starting the Batman up.
Yeah,
I didn't know that. So that makes a lot of sense to me, because even when he didn't have cufflinks on, and then Alfred is like, here, have these cufflinks to wear. I think of the Christian Bale Dark Knight, and he was just so like profound and everything. Like everywhere he went, profound and everything. He was just always savvy with how he managed himself, presentation wise and decision wise too.
Yeah.
So is that like a more tenured Batman compared to this one, like Robert Pattinson's?
It just like with the Riddler, it's another flavor, because something that my brother said is that he felt like this movie should have had more Bruce Wayne in it. He wasn't too happy with the Bruce Wayne in this movie. He thought Batman himself was great, but Bruce Wayne as a character, he felt like he should have been more of a character, because he didn't really like the super dark tone of Bruce Wayne. He wanted the sort of like playboy philanthropist Bruce Wayne that we know more of, like from the comics and stuff.
I imagine in the future when they make another one, that's going to come out more for Robert Pattinson.
Possibly.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't know.
It was cool where he wore sunglasses because it was too bright in the morning.
Yeah.
I just thought that was kind of cool.
Another point that my brother made, which he found people online are also like theorizing about this. But do you remember when they go to the funeral of the mayor, and that Batman or Bruce goes to speak to that one guy, or he's standing next to this one guy, and that one guy's like, man, I can't believe this and that.
They didn't help my daughter when she needed help, or when some rich guy needs help or something like that.
And then he looks at Bruce and he's like, hey, don't you look familiar? And then he's kind of shocked when he finds out he's Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
My brother thinks that's Joe Chill. And Joe Chill in the comics is notoriously known for being the murderer of Thomas and Martha Wayne. Oh, shit.
No way. I was confused about that part the whole time. And even at the end where he unmasks the guy, was that the same person? When on top of the Madison Square Garden, Gotham Square Garden, like box that shows like
the scaffolding and stuff.
Yeah,
no, that wasn't the Riddler.
No, not the Riddler, but the guy who we're referring to right now. Was he at the end of the movie at all?
I don't know.
People think that he was. I don't think he was. I think he just seems similar to him.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Because when he said, "Oh, don't you look pretty familiar?" I'm like, who is this guy supposed to be? Or does he just recognize his eyes or the jaw? But that'd be kind of crazy if it's Joe Cho, because there was a lot of talk about that, like who killed his parents and this and that. So interesting.
Yeah, so that was just a cool little thing that my brother pointed out. As soon as he saw it, he was like, I think that's Joe Cho.
That's pretty cool. I didn't know your brother was as into comics as you are. Probably not like to the biggest extent, but he knows a lot about comic books too.
He knows a pretty good amount.
That's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice.
What else? I gotta throw it out there. But Zoe Kravitz is so beautiful. Oh my God.
Definitely that. And she has like a bunch of hair, like wigs to wear in the whole movie and stuff like that. But as soon as she walked in, I didn't recognize her. Like I thought she was somebody else. I was like, what the fuck? But she's very beautiful in the movie for sure. For sure. And the boots thing was cool as shit. Like all of that stuff. So
I heard one complaint of the movie where he didn't use enough batarangs.
I also heard that. That's amazing you say that.
We probably heard it from the same person.
Jonathan. No, was it Jonathan that told you this?
It was my enemy, Brian.
Both of them said it when they left the movie. These are friends of ours. They said that he didn't use enough gadgets throughout the whole movie. I didn't think so either.
I thought he used the right amount.
I think so too. And especially for what's maybe in the future from like in store for more movies.
Mhm.
All I wanted to see was him use that smoke bomb at the end. That's
Yeah.
all I was waiting for. I don't know why, or like one of those little pellets.
I mean, it's because it's like Batman in the shadows and the
Yeah.
smoke. It's so cool.
I just love it. So I just thought I didn't think too much of the Batarang stuff, but yeah, he just used the cut tape. He just
I thought that was cool. Like as soon as he put it back in place, I was like, that's dope. Like that's just such a cool little detail I think of his suit. But I really like that suit. Robert Pattinson is fucking great, and I think this movie really sets up what's next,
especially with how they're portraying the world. Because I agree with you. Like, you know how the lampposts have those circular lights. It just goes along. Because again, when it comes to the actual game, the Arkham Asylum, it's so similar, man. And even how he was fighting the other villains or like the bad guys and this and that, he moved like he did in the video game, which is very impressive to me.
Like when he's fighting all the guys on the platform and the way he's just like going for the uppercuts and like the elbow jabs and things like that.
Exactly like in the game. To me, how I saw it, I was like, not every single punch and this and that, but there was definitely some reference there or something. So let me ask you this, man. What's your favorite scene of the movie?
My favorite scene, I would have to say it's probably when he fights all the guys on top of the scaffolding of Gotham Square Garden.
Yeah,
because while I really liked the Batmobile chase scene, I felt like it was a little hard for me to follow personally.
How come?
I felt like it was just too many quick shots, and it was like a little hard to follow. But I thought it was still really cool.
Yeah.
But I just prefer like the hand to hand combat, and I thought it was so cool the way he like used one guy to swing around and he throws himself up onto the top and rolls the perfect way to knock two guys down by their legs and gets up and knocks down another guy right behind him. I'm like, yo,
there was a lot of emphasis on the choreography for that for sure.
Yeah, like the choreography was fucking on point.
I just love I love the Batmobile scene just because of the final shot where he's walking towards the Penguin, and it's from Penguin's perspective, being in an upside down car.
Yeah, beautiful fucking shot.
He's looking at the flames behind Batman. It's just a shadow of him coming out, and it was just perfect, man. It's the poster of one of the movies when you go see it. But to me, once I saw that, I was amazed, man. It was just such a beautiful, beautiful shot. And at the end, when he gets the flare and he's just walking in the water and he has a bunch of people following him, just there's a lot of emphasis on those little scenes that to me were just like eye candy.
It's Gotham, man.
Yeah, man.
Makes you fall in love with it.
And I gotta ask this now. So with the end, you know, because obviously the Riddler doesn't succeed in his plot and all that stuff. We get a little sneak peek at who's to come to be the who?
Joker.
Exactly. And so seeing it twice, I got to see more in the second time. So you could see his hair green. If you look really closely, you could see the green hair in the light because there's barely any light on him. And I got to hear the riddle because last time somebody was talking, that, you know. What are your thoughts and expectations having that little, you know, because he's talking to the Riddler, he tells him a riddle. I forget what it is, but the answer's a friend. And they both start laughing. And so you get a little hint at how the Joker's laugh's going to be. But what's your thoughts on, what's your expectations now seeing that little scene?
I mean, I'm just excited because, like, besides the Joker and the Riddler, like, hooking up or whatever, like, we also have the Penguin who's now running 44 Below.
Yeah.
And and he's, the Penguin is going to have his own spin-off show.
Oh, really?
So, yeah. And
did you notice that when Chief Gordon, Lieutenant Gordon, when they tied up his feet and his arms and then they walked away from him, he kind of waddled. Yeah, I didn't notice that, but he waddled like a penguin. Who did they name who the Joker was in the credits?
I didn't catch it.
I was telling myself to check. I thought it was Andrew Garfield. It just sounded like him. His voice sounded like him, but then it comes down to the laugh, man. The laugh. Again, Heath Ledger's laugh was so cool. So cool. So I wasn't so happy about it, but that's just me being real picky, you know, throughout the whole thing.
Fair enough.
So he did the you know, that stuff was fucking cool. So and a lot of people praised the Riddler this time for the movie. People thought he did incredibly.
Yeah, I thought so. I thought he was a really good villain. I was a little iffy on like sort of like how modern it was in terms of like him embracing like the social media stuff. Yeah, because I was like, I don't know if I find this cringy or not. But,
same here, but I think they did a good taste to an extent because it's true. It's how it would be today. Yeah, and it wasn't overused. I think so too. But he did mention like, thank you for my followers and all that stuff. But it really would go down like that, like nowadays at the very least. I like how a lot of movies often they shoot, and instead of having like iPhones, they'll have flip phones still. So they bring it back just to that time period. Like Breaking Bad, they'll have flip phones. Because without the flip phones, it'd be a whole different movie.
Well, Breaking Bad takes place like during like 2006.
I love it. And was it was filmed during that time or no? It was filmed in 2006.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, I didn't know that. But even then, I think I know a lot of movies, regardless of the time, like will use flip phones, so they don't have such an easy access to just answers. Because it was much more harder back then without having an iPhone in your hand that has.
They had iPhones in this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm just saying like movies that use flip phones only before iPhones were invented.
Yeah.
To push the storyline and make it more difficult for the police to catch the villains and vice versa. I think that's just really cool.
Nice.
Jeez. Yeah, bro. But the band was good, man. I really fucking enjoyed it. I'm gonna go see it a third time.
Out of 10, what would you give it?
A 9.
A 9?
Yeah, bro.
I'd give it an 8.5.
Nice.
So that gives us an average of 8.75.
For whoever cares. And I don't know. I'm trying to think of anything else I want to say about it, because it's just hard to, because just watching it is a pleasure. Like I really wish we could just show shit, which obviously we're not gonna be able to do for a while. I tried to record on the IMAX screen, and it does not let you record nothing. I wanted to record the Batman to the Batmobile scene. I was like, why is it not recording? And I'm like, they're smart as fuck. So I'm just gonna do it in the Williamsburg theater. But it was a great movie, man, and I don't know. I just can't wait for the next. I just want the next one to come out already, but that's not gonna be for another fucking forever.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. And The Rock's gonna be the Aquaman? What's up with that? What is this?
No, The Rock is gonna be Black Adam.
Black Adam. Got you.
Who's Shazam's villain.
Got you. I never seen Shazam or read Shazam.
Pretty good movie.
Nice. I heard good things.
But that was our second topic. Yeah. Definitely a lengthier topic. It's our mini AMC section.
Yeah, definitely that. And welcome back for those who didn't want to listen to the spoilers. Yeah.
Welcome back. So the last topic I got for you is, again, I'll read the headline. New Yorkers with marijuana convictions will get first retail licenses.
Gotcha.
So here's what's going on with that.
What is... Read that headline again.
New Yorkers with marijuana convictions will get first retail licenses.
Okay, continue.
So pretty much what's going on is that New York will announce plans to usher in its first outlets for retail sales of marijuana by the end of the year, and that for the first 100 or more stores, they'll be reserved for those who have been convicted of marijuana-related offense.
Okay.
Or even if one of your family members has been convicted of one of these offenses. And what's really cool is that they're doing this because they're trying to avoid the pitfalls that other states have run into when they've legalized marijuana, like tried to open up stores and stuff. And the person kind of running all this is our governor, Kathy Hochul.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say Eric Adams. Okay.
But like sort of some of the pitfalls that other states have run into is that they've seen designated social equity applicants and other mom and pop marijuana businesses struggle with issues like lack of capital or competition from deep-pocketed corporate operations.
Yeah, the man.
And, I'm not a business guy, so I had to look up what capital even means.
I'm not a businessman. I'm a business man. Also Jay-Z.
That's like when I texted you, Dirty Dan, dirty, man.
That's exactly what it's like. But I'm so confused. What does this headline mean? Like, what are they giving people who have been convicted of marijuana?
So if you want to open up a shop, and if you've been convicted of a marijuana-related offense in any time in history,
you'll have more of an advantage than somebody who hasn't.
Yeah, you'll be one of the first people that can open up one of these shops.
That's interesting. Okay.
And again, I had to look up what capital meant because I was like, I don't know what capital means.
I thought it just meant money.
Yeah, pretty much. It's just like the money that the business has available for like their
ask me how I would have answered that question in no time.
Motherfucker, I didn't.
All right.
But yeah, it's just like their day-to-day operations, like money that they can save up for future stuff and whatever. And so if they're like a lot of small businesses are lacking that and are losing sales to these big corporations and bigger companies and things like that. And so the governor proposed $200 million in this year's budget to support this. And that money is going to be spent on finding, securing, and renovating storefronts for retailers. So,
okay.
And again, it's 100 or more stores because they haven't put a limit on how many stores they're going to do this for.
Yeah.
So it could be more than 100. It could be 200. And honestly, that's even better.
Yeah. I'm just still conflicted on it. I get what's happening now a little more, because it's still, I just feel like there's a lot more ways to help people because I mean, they should release people who've been convicted from marijuana charges first. You know, they should do things like that before, you know, these laws, I think. So just get them out of jail for things like that.
Well, I don't know how it works exactly if you're in jail, because
or prison, actually. We could learn the difference between
jail or prison. I don't know what you get sent in for marijuana.
I mean, not now. I'm saying like if you're doing the time because you committed a crime in the past or something like that, and if you're still there, like release people with marijuana is legal. No, I know that gets really tricky and shit.
What I'm trying to get at is that I don't know the ruling of like when a law gets changed like that, and if you're still in like time for that law or that crime. Yeah, I knew it at some point, but
I think that regardless of it's changed, that you still stay in there. I mean, maybe the sentence is lessened or this and that, and this is just my opinion. I don't really know, but I think that's what happens. Maybe
that's my assumption as well.
Yeah. That's why this kind of confuses me, because I think it's great and all, but I don't think a lot of people who have been convicted of marijuana are going to go up and start a business. You know, those definitely will.
Well, there definitely are. Because in the article, there was a story about this one dude.
People are. I'm saying not like everybody, though. You know,
I don't know, because like this one guy from Harlem, he first got caught when he was 14 smoking weed in his hall. Yeah. And from then he became a dealer. I know.
What a criminal. What a disgrace to society.
and then he has gotten arrested before when he got older and started selling weed and became a dealer. But now he can sell weed legally and provide for his family and create generational wealth. No doubt. But I'm trying to just say the people who just smoke weed. You know, I don't know. But this isn't for them.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying that like, to me, it just is a significant thing, but not like super. I just think it's a kind of a cash thing. That's I have no opinion on it. I just and I get it and stuff like that, but I wonder. I just wonder.
What do you wonder, Frankie?
It conflicts me, this article. It just conflicts me because I just think it isn't really it just is not significant to me. I can't even comment on it. I just don't know, man. I think part of it is me not understanding it to the fullest extent, but I just feel there should be much more push for bigger things in terms of marijuana. You know, and just the jail system, the prison system in total. There's a lot of just fucked up shit where there should be more emphasis on, you know, fixing our justice system and like drugs. We had discussed about this last time, how it's just ridiculous that so many people have to go through, you know, drastic punishment, and then a couple years later they're like, oh, my bad, actually we're gonna actually start selling it legally, even though you've been in prison for now 5 years, 6 years. You know, you can't take time back. It's like paying somebody $40 million when they serve a 67-year sentence, and they're like, oh wait, that wasn't you, so here's $40 million and everything's okay.
Consider the people that probably have already done their time for this, and now they're gonna open up a business. And
what if their business doesn't thrive because of the bigger businesses on top of them?
Well, this is what they're trying to avoid. This is why they're giving the first 100 stores or more to these people, because they're trying to avoid that. They're not letting other companies come in until these people get their stores up first.
Yeah, but I do think that in the future, regardless, the big chains of marijuana are gonna crush these little guys. Yeah,
I mean, ideally, hopefully that won't happen.
Yeah, but I mean, look at Walmart and then mom and pop shops. Like historically, it's gonna happen. That's why.
So history does repeat itself, Frankie. Yeah. Weird.
And that's ultimately what I'm trying to say. I just think that it's like here's a little store, go have it, and then eventually it's just gonna get, you know, just crushed by this bigger competition. And of course, hopefully it doesn't happen, but it's just I don't know, like what if you've been convicted and you couldn't go to school and you don't have the economic you know, the brains for it, and it doesn't succeed because you lack the tools to put it all together, to put it to work. You still need to have money. You know, what if you lost work throughout this whole time of conviction and you're able to start a company now, but how are you going to pay for it? How are you going to pay for everything else? You know, that's what I'm trying to say. Like that conviction comes with a lot of baggage, which doesn't necessarily get fixed with this, you know, opportunity.
It definitely doesn't fix it, but
I think that's what I'm trying to say, though. Yeah, no, for sure.
It's a step in the right direction. I think that's important to still point out.
That's true. I think I think in my head I'm trying to diminish that step forward, because it's not like this article is only saying like this is the best thing that can happen for everybody that's been convicted. It's just one thing that's happening out of the many things that are going to pile on top of it.
Who knows what the governor might do next in terms of marijuana offenses and things like that. Yeah. So This just opens the door for more opportunities.
Yeah, it's just so childish to still like have marijuana be looked at as just this drug or this and that, and there's just so much that proves it otherwise. You know, it's just a plant. You know, just a plant, and when it goes down to like just the realness of it, just is not hurting nobody really. You know,
I always love to think about the first people that got high, like they must have burned it by accident.
Yeah.
They must have like used it for like kindling or something,
Probably.
and they were like, "Yo, why am I feeling like this?"
Yeah, man, this shit is awesome. I don't know.
Like one dude's just freaking out, like something's going on. The other guy's just like,
just chill the fuck out,
just chilling.
I don't know. I think that like with the mushrooms and stuff, that must be crazy to find that shit out the first time. You know, who went to a pile of cow poop? Just always eat these fucking mushrooms, man. I heard a crazy story, right? Well, it's not really that crazy, but
Okay.
I just know somebody that when they were in a different country, they did that. They went through cow manure, got the mushrooms, wiped them down, and this and that. They ate them, and they just tripped the fuck out. And it's a process. It really goes through that and stuff. So. Weird times, man. Weird times. You throw me off with this fucking minor conviction.
What do you think of microdosing?
Microdosing, I think it's perfectly fine. I think it should be done more often. I don't microdose all the time in terms of mushrooms and this, but there's been a couple of times where I've just taken like, you know, a cap or whatever and just had a good day. Like I just had a pleasant day, and it's such an interesting way to put it because you can't really describe it. But when you just have a little bit of mushrooms, you don't. It's not like you're seeing shit, man. This shit is crazy, and no, you're just kind of just floating. You know, you're floating, and it's just taking you through the day. And I know for sure there's a bunch of people that do that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, one time during work, you know, I handed a coffee to a lady, and I didn't notice it, but she took it with her hand that had her car keys, right? So she grabbed the cup. Her car keys are here, and a little bottle of Fireball was there too. You know,
oh, you've told me this,
and I was like, all right, have a good day, and then I looked away, and then my mind registered it. I was like, wait, hold on, and I know I'm not encouraging drinking and driving at all, you know, because maybe she has a tough job and shit like that, but I mean, who's to say?
Ideally, she's waiting till like she's been at the office to drink it.
I think that she's gonna put it in her coffee.
No, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. Ideally, she's like waiting till she gets to the office to put it in her coffee.
Maybe, but she had it ready right there. I think she's gonna go to her car, open up her coffee, put the Fireball in, and then drive to work. Not like she's gonna get drugged in like 2 seconds. But I mean, there's microdosing in like a lot of forms. You know, whether it's like, you know, maybe eat edible or acid, this and that. I don't know what. But I think it should just be encouraged because a lot of people smoke weed just to get through the day in their own ways of looking at things. You know, so I don't know. What do you think about it though?
I feel like we should trip and do this show.
That'd be cool. But I would just be sweating.
Would sound like assholes.
I would be sweating and talking so fast and thinking of like 7 ideas at once.
That would be so bad.
We'll do it for a trial episode maybe.
Yeah, we'll just do it for shits and giggles. But I don't know. I think there's an episode of High Maintenance, a great show on HBO. It's about a drug dealer, and every episode is about a different person who he sells drugs to.
Yeah.
And there's an episode where there's a veterinarian who gets into microdosing because he's depressed.
Yeah.
And his therapist is like, I don't know if that's a good idea. And he's like, I don't know. I might try it out.
Yeah.
And the dealer's like, take a tiny bit. And he's like,
I'm gonna take the whole thing.
He's like, okay. And he takes a tiny bit and he's acting all weird at work. Everyone's noticing how like uppity he is. And they're like, yo, man, something's up with this guy.
Seems extraordinarily happy today.
Yeah.
That's
like,
not right.
like he's just being weird. He's like throwing like animal at the foods in the waiting room. He's like, oh, you want some?
You mean he's throwing food at the animals?
That's what I say.
You say throwing animal at the food.
Damn.
You sure you're not microdosing? Really depressing fact. There's a lot of veterinarians commit a lot of suicide.
Yes, I knew that. It's actually.
Crazy.
They commit suicide at a higher rate than most people.
Yeah, it's them and then farmers that are white and like around 40 years old. Of course, there's a lot of different groups and this and that, but it's because of a couple of things. But seeing obviously somebody's pet die and then families crying and stuff like that is terrible. Putting them down is terrible.
And then it's just people will also like attack the veterinarians and be like, "You did this," or like whatever.
And if they don't give them the medicine that they need for the dog because they can't afford it, they'll get guilt tripped and saying like, "You're not going to give me my medicine for my dog," even though he's like dying. And sometimes they'll either give it to them and lose their jobs, or they just won't and feel that guilt. They'll be like, if my dog dies, it's because of you. And it's like, nah, man, I'm just a veterinarian, like doing my job. So That was just I read the article a while back, but that's just interesting and sad. You know, 'cause
Yeah.
they're just doing the job of whatever they're doing. So that sucks ass for them. There's no happy ending there.
Well, that was a news section for you.
It was, and now we're here, man.
We didn't really go down too many b-holes.
Not
we
today.
went down maybe like 2.
Barely 2. I think 1.5, if anything.
We're pretty on track today. What the
That's how
fuck?
it goes, man. It's the essence of this area. Well, hold on 1 second. All right, so now we are here at the AMC section, and what are we talking about this week, man?
So I was really excited to pick out this comic for us because as soon as I found out that I was hosting this episode, I was like, oh, I know exactly what we're going to talk about. It's been on my mind for a minute because I've wanted to start rereading this series. And so this is a great opportunity to do it. And we are talking about Neil Gaiman's The Sandman.
Neil Gaiman's The Sandman. I'll put it right here, actually. Yeah, right. This is an anniversary edition, but Javi has that edition. I don't know what the fuck you were telling me when you told me about this book and I saw the cover. I told you this before, but I was expecting like a Batman comic or Superman or whatever. Mm-hmm. And when I saw this, I was like, what the fuck? What is this? And before we get even to it, like when I was reading it, I didn't realize this was like a DC comic.
Yeah.
Because they mentioned the Justice League and all that. I didn't know that. I thought it was going to be his own story and all that stuff. So when I got to like the middle of it and I found out those things, I was like, wait, what the fuck? This is... And it doesn't seem like a story that's part of it.
Were you even familiar with John Constantine?
No, I didn't know.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, when I texted it to you, it was just something about it that I mentioned, like just something while I was reading. But I thought this was going to be a whole different thing outside of Marvel and DC. I didn't know it was a part of it. So
interesting.
Yeah, but this book is fucking crazy, man.
Yeah,
yeah, it was a great read.
Yeah, and also if you notice, it says Vertigo on the bottom. Vertigo. Well, actually, yours says Black Label, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That's interesting to me.
Why is
because Vertigo was an imprint from DC, which they basically just printed darker stories and things like that in the DC universe, and later they discontinued it in favor of Black Label.
Okay, but it's the same thing though. That it's just a darker story.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Just a random little thing there.
Bro, the details matter. Devil in the details. But yeah, so how, start it off and I'll just follow you, man.
All right. I mean, well, I think what's really great about this book is that it's really accessible to like new readers and things like that. You don't really need to know anything because just like for yourself, you didn't know that this was in the DC universe until halfway. And I want like did that like rock anything for you in a bad way or like? I just
at first when it was happening because of I was so unfamiliar with what was this like what this was. I meant when I was reading. I mean, just to get into it, also like it starts off by saying the lives of 4 people. Unity and then 3 other people and. When I was reading, I was like, what is happening with this story? It was hard for me to start it because I didn't know where to put they were giving me so much information. They were talking about like Burgess, which is the guy who was trying to, what is it, with death? He's trying to control death ultimately. And with all this information, all these characters thrown at me, I was like, how am I going to remember all this stuff as I get into the middle? And it's such a big, book. So to me, it was very difficult to start, but I just kept flipping pages, reading. And then I just got really, really just, taken in by the whole thing because the story really develops in its own really special way.
It does.
It's very interesting.
It's very much a slow burn because you're figuring it out every issue by issue. And I just want to point out, as we said, Neil Gaiman is a writer of this. The artists were Sam Keith, Mike Dringenberg, and Malcolm Jones III. Specifically, Sam Keith and Mike Dringenberg did issues 1, 2, 3, and 4. Sam Keith and Malcolm Jones III did issue 5, and Mike Dringenberg and Malcolm Jones III did issues 6 and 7. So those are the respective credits to the artists for each issue.
Yeah.
Todd Klein was a letterer, and Daniel Voza was a colorist, and they did great work. Also, Dave McKean does the covers to each of the issues, and these covers are just fucking
man. There's just everything about this book is crazy, but the covers are really good, and a couple of them I like in particular. But just when you get to, it's just spectacular artwork went throughout it all, man. It's just hard to be specific because there's so much story here. There's just so much story here.
I don't think we need to go so much into like a 1-by-1 play of how it goes down because I think the story really speaks for itself.
Yeah.
I think what we can really talk about is just sort of like our favorite moments and things like that, because it.
And a brief sum up is essentially they captured the Sandman, right? They captured him and then trying to imprison him to, again, like to call it how it is and how I take it in, basically control death. And what was it? Somebody came to him because he had lost his son in a shipwreck. And he was like, he gave him a specific thing. I forget what it's called because it was like a long name.
Like a magic book or something like that had spells in it.
And he summoned somebody who they didn't know was a Sandman. And this guy was in prison for like 130 years. And the guy who tried to cast the spell, it never worked. And eventually when the Sandman was released, his son was punished because of it. Right. So that basically the whole thing goes down where he punishes the son by every time he wakes up, it's just crazy shit happening, right? Yeah, it's like endless wake or something like that.
Yeah, it's like it's a dream that he can't ever wake up from.
And so now it goes down to like what the Sandman can do, which is basically control your dreams or use the power of dreams and all that stuff. And I wish I could say much better, but this is how a first reader can describe these things. Now, I didn't know who the Sandman was. I've never heard of him. Okay. Ever. So to me, it was just really cool how I like how whenever he speaks in the comic book, his text is encircled by white, but in black. So you always know when he's speaking. And so I thought that shit was really fucking dope.
Yeah, I mean, I always love it in comics when they like speech bubbles are different depending on the character, and even the text itself. Like Lucifer, his text is written like fancy or whatever, like almost like script, and you see other font that's a lot more straight when it's just straight up narration. And it's something that I love that Neil Gaiman does as a writer is that he really bends language to make it sound the way he wants it to sound. Okay. I'm trying to find the exact page, but as an example, but there's a moment where someone says something along the lines like, is there anything else? And the way he spells it, he's like NZ thing else. And it's just like at first you read it and you're like, what? But then you sound it out and you're like, oh,
it's supposed to sound like that.
Yeah.
It reminded me of in Mouse when he was speaking to his father, and he has a very like, Jewish way of talking. Like he's like, oh, you got this and that, and how some of the word, like, when it's written, it's like, wait, is this written correctly? But it's just how his dad spoke, being so old and having that accent and stuff. So. Yeah. We'll continue.
Yeah, I mean, so by the end of the first issue, we see Morpheus, Dream himself get out, and it's time to get his shit back. Yeah. And so for the rest of the book, it's kind of him just getting his shit together.
His
just
amulet,
kind of
his what is it? The pouch, the amulet, and the crown.
And mask.
Sorry. I really liked when he went to hell, right? He went to hell and he had to fight the guy, and I thought it was
my favorite issue.
The imagery in the issue is beautiful, but I thought it was gonna be more of like a battle, like a physical battle, and the way they fight is basically like, oh, I think of a mouse, and then it's like, well, I think of a cat, and then the cat, kills the mouse, and then the guy really like, oh, I think of anthrax that gonna ensues the whole animal, and then he's like, I'm the universe, so it's a kind of a vocal battle, right? And to me, that was interesting. I didn't expect that.
He says, so the guy he's battling, Dream says, I am the universe, all things encompassing, all life embracing. And the guy he's battling says, I am anti-life, the beast of judgment. I am the dark at the end of everything, the end of universes, gods, worlds, of everything. And what will you be then, Dream Lord? And he just looks out and he says, I am hope.
There we go. Yeah. Yeah, man. And again, the way that villain that had his mask was just the way he looked awesome, man. He looked awesome because it's such an unordinary character that I've seen in the comic book, And there's an introduction in the book that's of the 30th edition, the 30th anniversary edition, and he speaks about basically how there's so much different characters in this. It was written by, sorry, give me 1 second, Patrick Rothfuss. I don't know what that is, but he says something in the introduction where he says, I'm very jealous of any person that gets to read this book for the first time because he wishes he could have the opportunity to do it again because of how different this book was. And I don't know, he just very much enjoyed it. And when I finished reading it today, it was an opportunity, man. I'm definitely going to buy volume 2 and just continue to read these stories because I'm lost in it now. So
yeah, they honestly just get better. Yeah. I also something we didn't note, but this came out in 1989.
Jesus Christ!
So it's one of the older things that we've looked at.
It doesn't even seem like it came out in 1989. Not that there's any time period to like what stories can be, But to me, this is like watching a movie. Like that's how advanced this like illustration
how well constructed it is.
It's a movie, man. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, issue 4. I believe the Hell issue is issue 4, but it's my favorite issue because Dream has one of the best lines ever. Where he's trying to leave and Lucifer's like, "Oh, you really think like you can just like leave? Like
yeah, man.
Like what makes you think that? And you have no power here. Like, what do you think dreams have in hell?
What power would hell have if those here in prison were not able to dream of heaven? Are you talking about?
Mm-hmm.
So fucking badass he said that shit, man.
And everyone's just kind of like, damn.
Mic drop but it's true, and I think that also extends how powerful this guy is. You know, like it really is true how he controls everything. I like a little more towards the end, but when he's traveling through the dreams to get to the locker where his amulet is, he just goes through a bunch of people's dreams, and he's like, little did they know that I've passed all of them. He says, if I have it right here, that he basically is using dreams as their transportation, and that he's come across all of them with that power of his. So I really much enjoyed that.
Yeah, I mean, what this comic does great are these vignettes of new characters that we see almost every issue.
Yeah.
Like the first issue we get Burgess and his whole story and the story of his son. In the second issue we get Constantine, and then in the third issue I'm forgetting in the third issue who we get to see. But actually it continues on to Constantine in the third issue, and then in the Hell issue we meet Etrigan, which is such an awesome character. I don't know if you know this about Etrigan or if you caught this, but everything he says rhymes.
Ooh, wait, remind me of which one was Etrigan again, because now I have to get
the demon from hell.
The demon from hell, the red one right there that I'm looking at. I don't know everything he said rhymed.
Yeah,
he's the first one that he saw when he entered the gates, right? That's the first person he came across.
That's his whole shtick. Everything he says rhymes.
That's my power.
Like if you listen closely, for innocents abroad need guides of note. Who notes more than me than Etrigan? Wait, no, not that one.
I don't know about that.
No, you know why I said that one?
Why?
Because when I read it, I thought that one was iffy.
Oh, okay.
But it's his next line. He says, "To rides among the fallen, strange and true. But as things change, Lord, they transmute as well. And I, if I've changed, O King, then what of you?"
Oh wow, okay. So he slipped that in there, and everything he says is like that. That's pretty fucking cool.
So everything he's supposed to say are supposed to be in rhymes and stuff, and that's kind of his character. And I can't wait to write him one day. That's gonna be so fun to write.
That's awesome, man.
But issue 4, he finally gets his helmet. And with Constantine throughout issues 2 and 3, he gets his pouch. And then
now he's looking for his ruby.
Now he's looking for the ruby. And we meet this Arkham Asylum patient that escapes.
And this is where I started to take notes, and I'm happy that, how can I say it? I started to take notes here because it was towards the end of the book, so now it's concluding and everything. And the first guy we come across is the Martian guy, and then Scott Free. Right, I don't know who that Martian guy is.
That's just Martian Manhunter.
Just Martian Manhunter.
Yeah,
I never knew who that was or anything.
Oh wow,
but yeah,
you didn't know who Martian Manhunter was?
The second I came across it, I knew I was gonna have to ask you. Just give me like a little bit of background on Martian Manhunter.
He's one of like the only living beings from his planet of Mars. Mars. I don't know if it gets destroyed or not. I forget what happens in Mars in the comics, but it get like his civilization is torn down, and he's one of the like last people to survive. There's Miss Martian, his cousin. His human name or his Martian name, sorry, is John Johns.
John Johns, that's dope.
Yeah.
Okay.
And his human name that he uses is just John Johns.
Okay. I just figured you would know because he's in there just so briefly. But I just thought his character is so significant in terms of how he looks. That was like I had to ask.
I mean, the big thing with Martians is that they can't handle heat or flame, so that's why he turns into like the big flame and like and he starts getting down on his knees and starts sweating and stuff because he can't handle heat.
Gotcha. I didn't know that. But basically, we come across D is his name, right? Or Destiny.
I didn't catch that. I let's just say D
because he called himself like Destiny the whole time and stuff like that. But yeah, let's call him D. And his mother had recently passed away.
Yeah, he says it here. If you're going to be a criminal, John, you are not going to bring shame on the family name. I had to change it. I called myself Destiny. D is for Destiny. And
he basically escapes Arkham Asylum, right? And he's driving away with the lady called Rosemary that he held at gunpoint, right? And how can I say? He says he talks about dreams, and he says no, they aren't real. The dreams and what they're made of. He says people think dreams aren't real because they aren't made of matter, of particles. Dreams are real, but they are made of viewpoints, of images, of memories, and puns and lost hopes. So I just love I love how they really emphasize obviously just dreams, but this is such a beauty to how it's portrayed, and you really just get to think about how powerful that is, the inner mind, and how we all kind of have these, we daydream, night dream, all that stuff. So when you really think about it, like it's a really effective way to get it to everybody, and how chaotic it can get, because when he has control of the ruby, he just starts fucking everybody up.
Yeah.
And the ruby has the power of Sandman within it, right? And that's when it gets really interesting, because apparently the ruby that which belongs to Sandman is said to turn dreams into matter, to translate the dreams into a form recognizable in this world. That's what it said. So I didn't know that till now. Yeah.
But one of my favorite moments in this issue is because as we see Dee and Rosemary going on this drive to the ruby and stuff, they kind of are hitting it off.
They have a pleasant conversation.
They have a pleasant conversation. And it's like really nice. And like at first when Dee first gets into the car and has her like pointing the gun, she's like, my husband's like a mafia guy.
Yeah, don't do nothing to me and this and that.
Yeah, and then they get along and this and that, and they finally get to where they're going.
Puts the gun down and stuff.
They finally get to where they're going.
Yeah.
And fucking Dee asks her, Rosemary, your husband Harry, is he really a mafia hitman? Harry, God, no. It was just something I said when I was, scared you were dangerous, crazy or something. Harry's a high school teacher. Oh.
He wouldn't hurt a fly or nothing.
And Dee just says, oh, well, I don't suppose it would have made any difference either way. And just fucking shoots her.
And that's when I felt like it teased me. We'll be like, oh, this is going to turn out to be nice and this and that. And then right back into the darkness. Right back. I couldn't believe that. And I love how they show it. Like the page is open right now, but the frame is just a white frame. And it has the head of the gun, the nozzle of the gun or whatever. And just, it went off and there's blood splatter. It's just that. Just white. That will put on the visual here. But it's white, blood, and gun. And it just couldn't believe that he killed her. I should really just... but yeah, and so now he goes to a diner and he sits down and he's just chilling. I noticed that the lady, one of the characters, Judy, in the diner had a Joy Division coat. That was interesting. I didn't know that was
yeah, I'm seeing it now. Yeah,
but essentially what this little part is that he's sitting there in the corner, and there's a lot of emphasis on the waiter and how she likes her job because she creates stories for her writings based on her customers. But this little, presentation of these maybe 5 to 8 people, it's just supposed to be a diner scene, right? And then it turns into so much more. It's it's just a chaotic increase moment, because all these regular characters end up just becoming savages. Yeah, through the power of destiny. He just ends up with the ruby he has. He ends up having these people do crazy things to themselves. Basically, like take off their clothes, like hammer a nail in their hand, this and that, start confessing the truth of everything. And it just gets real crazy to the point where one of them starts like biting each other, like in that frame right there. And they start having sex with one another. And at the end of it all, they just all dead in the diner. And I just think that within doing that, it just shows how much power he has, because now the whole world is getting affected by it. And it's getting crazy on the news. It's like, what's happening to the world? Everybody's going crazy. One of the craziest frames that I've seen there is somebody has their dog's head in his hands. You're going to see it soon. But he had basically decapitated his dog, and he's holding the head above and not even looking unfazed by it, just, And one of my favorite things that the waitress says, it's narrated actually. I don't know how much you love narration. She said, and the lady's name is Bet. She says, all Bet's stories have happy endings. That's because she knows where to stop. She's realized the real problem with stories. If you keep them going long enough, they always end in death. And I really like that. Because it's true. Like, if you really look at just the human life and everything like that, it just, that's why we capture moments in time for like movies and everything, or books. Yeah, if you go to the end, you're gonna just die.
In the Friends reunion special, someone asked them like, "Oh, would you ever go back and like continue Friends?" And they're like, "No." Yeah. And they're like, the whole point of a sitcom is to end it up like nice and wrap, and like everything's supposed to be good at the end. Yeah. To continue the show with to undo all of that. Yeah. And yeah, it's like It's just really interesting, I think.
Mm-hmm. And in the scene where everybody's going crazy, one of the people in the diner hands Destiny a severed finger, which is supposed to be a sacrifice, and D licks the finger. And then the narration text, it says, he licks the blood from the man's finger. A god must not appear ungracious towards the sacrifice. However, he derives no satisfaction from it. So that to me just captured my interest. I just really thought that was interesting. But you have to portray a certain power, especially when you're given that position. I know he had control of them regardless of anything, but it was still dope.
Yeah, I mean, there are just a lot of great lines in this book in general. Neil Gaiman is just such an amazing writer. Yeah. He's so like poetic in his writing.
Mm-hmm. And there's nudity in the comic, which was interesting. I immediately thought of Miles, and I was like, let's just ban this book too. I know it's not in the curriculum or anything, but yeah. And I just think that ultimately the Sandman is able to defeat D, but D kind of does it to himself. He crushes the amulet, but that ends up benefiting the Sandman. Mm-hmm. And I just think that this is it's supposed to be, I'm assuming, like the best part of the book, because to me it was my favorite part of the book. This frame right here, we're gonna put it up here just because I love this frame right here, because it just shows that once he crushes the ruby, it's just him in a blank white space, and he's like, wait, I just thought there would be more noise when I win, you know, like or applause. And I just love how everything is shown in this book. But again, it goes back to showing how much power the Sandman has and how much it hasn't been shown yet, I think. Like just like in the Batman movie, how we have so much left to see for Robert Pattinson. I felt like this is why I'm so excited to need to read the rest issues.
Yeah, because like I said, this whole volume is just him literally getting his shit together.
Yeah, that's all.
Like,
it
so
is.
with volume 2, it goes.
It just pops off.
It just pops off, and it's so great. They go back to hell. They deal with Lucifer again. A bunch of shit goes down.
And the beauty of the ending is when he meets up with his sister, right? Mm-hmm. And I didn't know that because he was in prison for like 130 years.
Yeah.
Right. And he talks to his sister and he's like, well, the thing is that they got it wrong. They wanted to get the power of death, but they took the wrong person, because his sister is essentially death. Mm-hmm. Right. And I love how they're going around the park in New York City, which in the first frame of
Washington Square Park,
it's such a beautifully drawn right there. Like you recognize it immediately, especially if you're from New York City. You're like, I know exactly where that is, and I know exactly where they're sitting. And that shit is amazing to see. So I love how they go by their business, having a whole conversation as she's going around. I want to say killing everybody, but just, you know, doing what
she's
death
like
does.
The Grim Reaper. It's just like, she just got to show up.
Oh my, it's so incredible. And then how she gets the people. The saddest part was when she went to the crib and she picked up the baby, and the mom comes back with the bottle. And then the next frame is just her holding the baby, but the mom crying on the floor. Mm-hmm. I was like, and it's just something she just has to do, you know? And I like their relationship. I like how they talk to each other. And I love how they're both designed. I love the design for the Sandman, but also the sister.
Yeah, they both, the way that they speak to each other, it's like siblings. Yeah. It's very natural. And their designs are awesome because the Sandman's outfit changes like per issue. Yeah. And like, it's just this really grunge goth aesthetic. And it's just like, it's really cool.
Mm-hmm. Nah, bro, I'm so grateful to have read this, because I promise you I never would have read this if we never did this podcast, just because it's just the truth. But it's a whole new portal into something different, man. I mean, even sitting here in this comic book shop is fucking amazing. And I don't know, man, the guy who wrote the introduction, he said that he got into comic books late in his life, you know, and he said that it took him a while, but I related with that, because I feel like I don't want to ever stop reading these things, because
nice,
you know, like I want to go forward and just have a whole bunch of them laying around and pass them down to people so they can learn about it too, and be blessed, because it's so easy to go on Netflix and watch a movie, but to like sit down and read a comic book it's like going back in time almost. You know, especially going back in time to 1998, right? That's when it came out. 89. Even crazy.
And
man.
To point out, Netflix is making a show of this.
I can't fucking wait. I was thinking that eventually they would have to do something, but I wish they would make a movie, like a real good movie for this, you know? So.
I mean, I feel like a series is perfect for it, because that's like the right amount of time, because it's so dense. There's so much story.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, man. And I mean, you know, we can't right now, but I would love to talk about this for hours. So hopefully we can read more issues and talk about it in the later AMC section.
That'd be dope.
I would love. It might be the next AMC section.
Ooh.
but yeah, man. So a little shorter episode than usual today, but Man, this is a great time right here.
Yeah.
And I still can't believe that when we take off these headphones, we're gonna be in a comic book shop. Yeah,
I mean, we're still in a comic book shop.
shut up, Holly. Let me have my moment.
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
I'll edit myself out.
Nice. Nah, don't keep it in. But yeah, man, this is what happened in the earth,
And this is what happened in our minds.
and this is why I'm married. Yeah, man. Thank you so much for listening, and I'm so happy that we're here, man, because this is awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, man. Good morning, good evening, good night.
And good night, good evening, good morning. Oh.